Devin, welcome to Mint. How's it going, man?
Not bad. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Thanks for being on. Let's jump right into it, okay? You guys had one of the craziest years, specifically in August, okay? Over $3 billion in total volume, okay? That was probably what? How was that period for you? What was going through your head? How was your team dealing with that? Like, walk me through that.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's a really exciting time, but also very chaotic time for the team. We went through this sort of hyper growth phase as a company, and we're really all hands on deck. Really proud of the team that really stepped up and filled in the gaps. We brought on more members of the team. We have some really great people joining. We've really shored up kind of the operations and product development at OpenSea, but we know we also have a long way to go in terms of building really great product for users. And it's been pretty amazing just to see how much excitement there has been around the NFT industry. And I think it's a testament to all the hard work that the whole ecosystem has been putting in over the last 4 years, right? Really building out the core NFT experiences that, delight the users of today. So really fun to see.
Yeah. Is this, so walk me through a little bit of like your startup background, right? Obviously OpenSea, I feel like is like that one thing that really snowballed to be this insane startup that has a lot of excitement, a lot of attention around. When you guys were going through this phase of the month before August, now we went through August, now it's September, we're approaching October, right? Even September is over $2 billion right now. Did you ever imagine like you'd be running a company at this scale with this much excitement? Like, how did that come to fruition? Talk to me about your thoughts regarding that.
Yeah, great question. I think, did not kind of envision this exact outcome for OpenSea, but also just, didn't really have specific expectations when we started. It was more kind of following our curiosity and just, doing things that we were excited about and building in a space that we thought, was early, but had really incredible long-term potential. And just, the excitement and enthusiasm around NFTs was just so remarkable that, we just kind of had to keep on building. But it is definitely a bit surreal to kind of be in a position where we're able to drive so much volume and have, such, a big impact on people. But yeah. I do think at the same time, despite these sort of crazy growth numbers, we're still at day zero for the NFT space. It's really just kind of the Wild West days of, comparable to the early internet. So it's really, it's really exciting to be in this position, but we have a long way to go.
For sure. So as the craziness kind of like spun out, what are some of the more exciting use cases you've seen come to fruition around NFTs? And whether it be like profile pictures or individual drops, it could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think gaming is really exciting as a use case, right? It's been in the works for a really long time. There's a lot of really cool projects, Axie Infinity, Zed Run, these sorts of things, virtual worlds. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of gaming in the next while. The other areas that people have been talking about for a while are like music, event tickets, even physical items, represented as NFTs and traded around, but then redeemed for the actual physical item. Those sorts of use cases I think are really cool and really interesting. So I would actually, for people who are kind of looking to build new projects in the space, I would look to kind of some of the early experiments of late 2017, early 2018, where people tried things out, but the market maybe wasn't ready for them. I think we'll see a lot of those experiments come back and really, start to resonate with people as there's a little more mind share around NFTs.
Yeah, during that crazy period for you guys, on average, like how much sleep did you get a night? Were you always online? Were you buying stuff yourself? Were you just trying to, burn fires if any arose? Like what was that time like for you personally?
Well, I wasn't making a lot of purchases myself just because I do tend to focus on kind of just the company building side of things. I find that I'm not able to like multitask super effectively, but definitely, there were some nights where it was a lot less sleep, but I think also sleep's really important to be able to function effectively and make good decisions. So, it was certainly it's certainly been an extremely busy time for the whole team. But we do try to, make sure that we're, lifting our heads up and not, and not being sort of silly about, getting that right healthy balance.
Yeah. What would you say was like one of the most challenging parts in the business when you guys encountered that growth wave? Any things that like you expected would happen that happened? Anything that happened that you didn't expect? Like, what was that like?
Good question. I think, well, I think what was sort of expected was everything just started breaking, but I think we didn't expect it to happen so fast, right? And I do think that our trajectory is like pretty unique relative to other companies. When companies undergo this hypergrowth, it is always pretty crazy, but ours was particularly unique, sort of in just sort of the amount of transaction volume that was happening on the marketplace. So things definitely started breaking. In terms of surprising things, yeah, I guess it was surprising, pleasantly surprising, just like that the culture was able to kind of hold up pretty well, right? Like I think we made some great hires early on. We like continue to kind of have a high bar for culture add when we think about new employees. And so I think everyone on the team is really, there for the right reasons and really strong and works well together. So it's been surprising, I guess, that things haven't broken down more on the cultural side, but I will say that it has not been surprising that things have, become kind of chaotic on the operations.
Yeah. One of the most exciting things for me, kind of seeing this entire NFT wave, and I'd love to get your point of view on this, is we had that DeFi summer of August 2020, where we had like a lot of financial buzz, a lot of like all these dexes, all these yield farming liquidity pools, a lot of like the non-sexy side of crypto. And then NFTs come into the picture, and you have a lot of the creativity coming in. You have artists coming in, musicians coming in. One thing that I love that's happening for crypto, it's becoming more mainstream, right? And I think it was important that NFTs had their moment of fame to bring in all these creative minds to make crypto more interesting, essentially, right? From the feedback that kind of, as you guys were building OpenSea, right, and you guys went through these last 3 months, and I emphasize these 3 months because it was a milestone for NFTs in general. What were some of like the biggest feedbacks you got for newcomers coming into the space, right? Like artists that jumped in, creators that jumped in, musicians that jumped in, that issued stuff on OpenSea. From a talent point of view, from a market point of view, what was some of the feedback that you got from these individuals?
Yeah, well, I think the feedback is still, just talking to people who are trying to use these sorts of products for the first time, is that it's very challenging, right? I think it's a brand new space where you have to kind of understand all these things. Still a lot of technical overhead and like, you have to kind of learn about everything before you can even really try it. So I think that's an area where, the whole space, and especially ourselves, has to improve. But, on the flip side, it's also impressive that people are just kind of willing to, get their hands dirty and, try these things out and go through those hoops. So sort of a double edge, or, two sides of the same coin. So, like feedback, people, there's lots of things that people want to improve the platform: better discovery, better onboarding, better curation, all these things. And, we have a long list of feedback that we want to integrate into our roadmap. But overall, I think, the high levels, it's exciting to see people like really dig in and kind of experience Web3 in a real way. I think there was a lot of conversation around like, how do we make Web3 like kind of, seem opaque to users, right? So that people don't have to worry about blockchain. Well, the reality is, like, I think people are kind of like still worrying about, like, still figuring it out, and that just shows how strong of a pull there is for all this stuff.
Yeah. What does a marketplace like OpenSea evolve into as the space matures? Is it more the social side? Is it more the DeFi side? Is it more the wallet side, or just really dialing on the NFT marketplace side?
Yeah, I would say, we're remain really focused on just building the best possible NFT marketplace, right? We want to sort of be the one-stop shop to buy, sell, discover new NFT projects. And, for now, that's like a pretty big undertaking that has a lot of challenges surrounding it. So we're, it's pretty simple, but we're really investing in our core and just ensuring that we can like serve projects, developers, and users as effectively as we can.
Sure. How do you feel about all these new, NFT decentralized exchanges slowly coming to market? While there aren't really like main ones yet, right? But there's a lot of talk across crypto Twitter. Do you think it can be done efficiently in a decentralized way?
Well, it depends what your definition of decentralized. I mean, we're a decentralized marketplace in the sense that we facilitate transactions through a set of smart
Right.
contracts. So,
Right.
yeah, it depends on kind of what you mean by that. I would say I think the critique of OpenSea is that there are these centralized components to it. Which items show up in the feed, which items are promoted, which items are verified, and those sorts of things. I think there are definitely interesting solutions where you sort of try to decentralize more and more. But I think you also have to balance that with being practical around some things do make sense to sort of have managed by one single entity or company. So we try to take a practical approach. We obviously want to be contributors to the ecosystem. We want to embrace these ideals of decentralization, but then we also want to build a great product that people will.
Yeah. Give me an example of some of these critiques, right? I know you talked about curation as being one of them. What are some other critiques that could be, I guess, fixed through decentralization, or that should be should be centralized to begin with? What are some things that come to mind?
I think, for example, we do the best we can to kind of ensure that there's strong trust and safety on the platform. So, that the item that you see is actually the item that you want to purchase, not a knockoff. And so we have a lot of measures in place to sort of have warnings if the collection hasn't been reviewed, indicate that this is a collection with low volume to kind of, help give buyers more education about NFTs. About what NFTs are buying. So I actually think, building out a core competency around trust and safety is something that an entity like ourselves can really add a lot of value in. There's certainly approaches where you try to kind of decentralize that, but for now we're sort of starting with kind of the lowest hanging fruit. So that's probably a good example of it.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Adam Levy here. Sorry for the quick pause, but I wanted to give some love to our 3 NFT sponsors that are making this episode a reality. They are Coinvise, POAP, and Social Stack. On Coinvise, you can create a personal or community-owned social token on Ethereum. Coinvise also helps you create incentives through token rewards and bounties, NFT business models, and bot integrations for Discord. Discover more by visiting coinvise.co today. Next up, we have POAP, or short for Proof of Attendance Protocol, who enables a novel way of creating one's life diary. Leveraging NFT technology, POAP facilitates an easy way to mint non-fungible tokens related to meaningful events. It's frequently used in crypto-native communities, and now it's starting to create NFT collectors in the mainstream too. Collect or launch your own POAP today by visiting poap.xyz. Next up, we have Social Stack, a platform for communities, brands, and creators to build mission-driven social token economies. Offering an easy-to-use, non-custodial wallet with a suite of open-source community engagement tools, Social Stack makes it simple to bring your community into Web3 and be a part of creating an open-source, gratitude-driven future for social tokens. Create a free social token wallet, discover mission-driven social token communities, or apply to launch your own token on Social Stack by visiting socialstack.co today. All right, back to the episode. I want to pick your brain more on the keyword that you brought up, Web3, right? And
Sure.
I guess nobody really imagined NFTs being a cornerstone in onboarding a lot of normies into crypto. What do you imagine Web3 looking like as the next billion users usher in?
Yeah, I think there's going to be lots of different applications, and some of them you can kind of predict today, but then some of them it's possible to predict, honestly. NFTs are one of those applications, right, where you have these unique digital items that you can kind of move between different applications, right? You can connect your MetaMask to one site, right, or OpenSea, and buy and sell, and then you can connect your MetaMask to Decentraland and use your NFTs inside of that virtual world. So sort of this identity layer, and I'm not sure if it'll be a specific company or a specific project that sort of manages identity, but I think it'll sort of emerge from your wallet and the things that are inside your wallet. So that's a really interesting thing, is to have this identity that's not tethered to any specific application provider, but rather just sort of tethered to this third party blockchain platform. So that's kind of how I see it, as it's sort of a new form of online identity that really works across many different platforms.
Yeah, you think like as Web3 kind of matures and evolves, do you think it's going to be more of like the composable point of view where protocols are building on top of each other and there's like an application layer that integrates all these protocols? Do you think it's going to be more of the Google approach where they can speed up production and software development by centralizing a lot of core components of their services? Like, how do you kind of imagine that evolving over time?
Sorry, would you mind repeating that a little bit, like the last part?
Yeah. So do you imagine the future of Web3 being more composable, right? Basically, there's like, let's say social application layers that use different crypto protocols, NFT protocols, DeFi protocols to build on top of? Or do you imagine it being more in-house, like a centralized entity, kind of building trusted tools and services for crypto users? So do you imagine it being more like spread out as a decentralized point of view, or is it in between? Like, what do you think?
Spread out, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I think like, yeah, I think there's like services that will provide certain things, right? Like, so we provide a marketplace, and then you can kind of bundle it with other things, right? You can bundle it with, maybe the ability to like display your items in certain ways, like connect social profile or profiles or something like that. But like, ultimately, I think lots of applications are going to it's going to be messy, I think, probably in the short run, where like there's lots of different apps that have like, some allow you to connect your social media profiles to them. And like, I don't see it like, I'm not sure that there'll be like one kind of identity service that emerges. I mean, maybe it'll sort of emerge from one of the platforms. It's hard to say, but it's a good question to kind of think about it. I don't know if I have a great answer.
You said you don't know if there's some identity layer that emerges. It cut out after that.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I think some of the most successful companies might end up building some like identity features on top of it.
Got you. Speaking of applications, you guys just came out with your mobile app, right? In the App Store. Got a lot of attention on crypto Twitter. Congratulations. It looks beautiful. Yeah. I use it. I look to see the Explore tab and all the cool features that you guys rolled out. What do you imagine like the future, I guess, of mobile applications looking like specifically in crypto? We can take it from like an NFT point of view. And then I guess from a broad point of view.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think, what's cool is that the infrastructure around mobile for crypto has evolved quite a lot, right? Like when you rewind to 2017, like you couldn't even use anything on mobile. Like
it sucked. Yeah.
It didn't exist. Like there was a wallet called Toshi, right? Which was Coinbase's first iteration of Coinbase wallet. And that was the only place you could like use. And I think you could barely even like do anything on it, right? It was just so basic. And now you have like so many different wallets. You have MetaMask Mobile, obviously, and then you have Rainbow Wallet, which is sort of more geared around NFTs. And the interoperability is starting to emerge too. For example, like, with the OpenSea app, which is still really in its infancy, you can go and you can connect to your MetaMask and kind of deep links in, and you come back. It's not, it's not necessarily the smoothest thing, but like it does, you can actually have a mobile experience, which is awesome. So I think like, it's hard to say exactly how it plays out. I mean, there's a world where a lot of stuff still happens on like mobile web or through down browser. But I do think the OpenSea app is kind of a cool example of us going native, but still being able, you can still bring your own wallet, which I think is actually right now really important for users to be able to connect their MetaMask, their existing stuff without having to kind of, have an OpenSea specific wallet.
Right. How do you feel about the whole, I guess, Apple monopoly, and more specifically when it comes to in-app transactions? How do you guys like think about that at OpenSea? Because it's not just an OpenSea problem; it's an entire like industry problem, right? With more and more transactions obviously being on chain, using Ethereum, crypto, whatever it may be, and Apple sticking to traditional Web 2 type of payments, right? How do you guys plan to overcome that? How are you guys thinking about that? Walk me through that.
Yeah, well, I think it's exciting because there's a recent news that is driving Apple to be a little more lenient on what kind of payment applications are allowed to use, and I do think that the 30%. I mean, it's just been so problematic having these like gatekeepers for mobile payments, and I think that really does need to change. And finally, they're getting some pushback on it, and so I think it's hard to say the exact timeline around these things, but I think eventually there will be other ways of purchasing digital items that don't go through these kind of more centralized gatekeepers, and that's really ultimately very, very important. So excited to see kind of that space move forward.
Yeah, speaking of gatekeepers, right? Obviously, a lot of like the ethos of crypto, a lot of the ethos of decentralization is removing those gatekeepers, pushing down the boundaries, making users owners of the protocol and the products that they use and consume. And the next thing I kind of want to talk to you about is you've been building OpenSea for 4 years now. Okay, you've seen a lot of successful token launches, a lot of failed token launches, and I would think that you guys explored this idea of what does a fully decentralized marketplace look and feel like. I wanted to pick your brain for a minute. What do you kind of think about are the pros and cons of shifting towards a token route, specifically for an NFT marketplace?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, I guess what I'd say is I think we're still in like kind of the early days of understanding how like token models work more generally, right? Like if you ask me to kind of point to the most successful token models today, like point to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other layer ones, right? I think that makes total sense to have like a token baked into the layer one protocol. But if you look beyond that, right? If you look at like sort of DeFi, if you look at like other projects, obviously, the ICO wave, if you look and you try to point to like kind of one that has really nailed it, I think it's hard to really, to use an example. You can point to protocol tokens that have really high market caps, but like one that has nailed the sort of incentive structure and like it actually working from like an adoption perspective. I don't think you can really say that there's one that stands out. And it's just because we're such early days. And so I do think, if you're a company, right, you kind of have to decide where are you going to innovate? Are you going to innovate on the product and the core user experience? Or are you going to try to innovate on something that I do think is sort of like uncharted waters? And that's the decision, right? You can certainly sort of dive down the path of uncharted waters, but you may find that you sort of get into areas that maybe you didn't expect to be in.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking long term, it can be great to have these short term growth hacks around your distributing tokens, or
Right.
maybe you're full of competitors, and you do it for that reason. But then, I do think if you look at these DeFi projects, they're in a sticky situation when it comes to like how to actually build the protocol, how to get the right governance, and I think there's a lot of merit to focusing on product and product market fit, right?
I agree with you. I think there's many different types of models, and there's not one yet that kind of proves to be the one, right? A lot of people, they go and start centralized, they build a product, they find the product market fit, they build a network effect, right? And then they issue the token. Rather others, they stuff decentralized, or try to stuff decentralized off the bat, forming it out, issuing a token, and building decentralized, right? My next question to you is, there's a lot of commentary online of like super users of OpenSea, fans of OpenSea, people who buy and sell, whatever category they are as a user, right? That want to see OpenSea launch a token. They want to see the open sourcing of smart contracts. What is your response to that? Like, how do you feel about the community kind of ushering in their voices and their opinions, and kind of like trying to push more towards a traditional decentralization?
Well, I think some of the criticism is like specifically like a specific contract that has not yet been open source, but like our core marketplace is open source fully. Like so I think there's maybe some kind of like misinterpretation or just confusion,
right,
because it's a new space. So yeah, I mean, like we if you look at OpenSea, the way that we operate is we're a peer-to-peer decentralized marketplace for digital items, right? And the facilitation of the buying and selling is all done through a single smart contract that is open source, right? So whether or not we have a token is a sort of governance decision, right?
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to that math equation that we did before. But I will say, I think that OpenSea can do a lot better when it comes to really fostering the ecosystem and fostering the community. And a lot of the ways that we've been behind there are really just resourcing. We're a small team. Number one priority is keep the website running and keep things operating effectively, and investing in sort of areas where we can be more do more outreach and do more ecosystem work. But it has taken us a little time to kind of catch up because of this kind of crazy growth. But we know that we can do better there, and we definitely want to.
No, dude, I applaud you. I applaud your team. You guys are doing something really, really good for the space. There's obviously a ton of product market fit off the get go, and you see the amount of emotion, the amount of identity, the amount of culture that's being built around that, and kind of OpenSea is at the core of all of that, right? I wanna kind of pivot and end off with this final question here. Okay, I'm a big fan of watching the growth of the internet, right? Specifically learning about the history of Web 1 and how that transitioned to Web 2, and how Web 2 ate Web 1, and now Web 3 is supposedly going to eat Web 2. What do you think is going to eat Web 3?
Man, I have no idea. I mean, Web3 is really like Web3 basically doesn't. I mean, it exists. It's so infantile. Gosh, oh man, what would eat Web3?
Well, let's take this from the point of like super extreme, right? Like the whole concept of Web3 is like ownership, right?
Sure.
All data is like public on chain, right? So I guess like a follow-up question is like, what happens when all data is on chain? What's like the downside of that?
Okay. Well, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the exact like description of Web3. I mean,
Okay.
I think like, well, maybe,
So
maybe it's accurate. Like, yeah, but I guess it's not that all data. I think you said that all data would be public. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think there's going to be
on chain, I
privacy.
meant, yeah. There's going to be privacy, but all like technically on a blockchain, right?
Yeah, sort of like these. Yeah. What happens after that? I mean, maybe we sort of just the humanity turns into like this giant hive mind where we're like all like coordinating, you know, across the blockchain, sort of become the board or something. I don't know. Like AI maybe actually here's a good one. Like I think you can imagine like an autonomous agent like running on this thing, right? Where like it's sort of plugged into all the humans and like, you know, it sort of emerges as this kind of like smart intelligent being and like sort of takes on a mind of its own, and then I don't know, humanity gets replaced or something. I don't know, something of that. I think that's like kind of possible, right? Because if you think about these things, they're unstoppable, right? They're unstoppable programs. And so what happens when you create an unstoppable program that can tap into everything? That has intelligence associated with it. I think that's pretty interesting to think about. I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon, but
would you like to see that happening?
I don't know.
Nah, this is great. Okay, I'll leave you with this final question. Okay, for all the new creators, all the new artists, all the new graphic designers wanting to enter the NFT space, make a career, give them some words of wisdom. Like, what can you recommend them, kind of starting off in the space?
Yeah, I think just sink your teeth in and like try everything out, right? Like go join all the Discords, go follow the Twitter accounts, go use all the applications. If you're not doing that, like it's really hard to just get involved. So, you know, and then just I mean, if you're up for it, like be kind of public and like interact with people, make friends. And I think underrated, especially now that things are opening up again, an underrated opportunity is to go to like meetups and things and just like meet people, get all the information you can from them, and then make friends with them and then like learn from there. I did that in 2017 when I was first learning about crypto, and it was really helpful. So that's kind of my recommendation.
Amazing. That's a perfect place to end off. Devin, really quick, where can we find you on Twitter? Where can people follow you?
D Finzer is my Twitter handle, and then OpenSea is the company handle.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much. And I hope to have you on again when OpenSea is doing 10 billion per month. All right.
Exactly.
Let's do it, man. All right. See you.